Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kyra and today I'm bringing to you ranking my concealers. It's been a little while since I did a ranking video, but all of these kinds and types of videos have been going around the tube for a while. I do believe it was Kelly Gooch who originally came up with this concept. I'll correct myself if I am wrong. But thank you to Kelly for starting this trend, because it's been really fun to sort of critically look at categories within my makeup collection and rank them. It's been really enlightening. I've just learned a whole lot about myself, about my collection, about the things I need to stop buying, and so on and so forth. So I am over 35 and I do have normal skin, in case that matters to you in terms of how I'm ranking these concealers. And that definitely plays a factor. I've talked before, I think I talked in my Hero Makeup Challenge video, which I'll link for you, that my one concern, whether it be skincare or makeup, is the dryness under my eyes. I don't want to accentuate the lines. I don't want it to look like the Saharan desert. I just want to minimize the discoloration under my eyes and brighten ever so slightly. So I do currently have 7 concealers in my collection. So coming in at number 7 and or the bottom, we're ranking from bottom to top as per usual, is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. I have mine in the shade Golden Natural. This is a decent shade match, but this one definitely falls in the bottom for me. This is definitely medium to full coverage. It does self-set in my opinion. I don't feel a need to set this when I wear it. In fact, if I did, it would be a train wreck. And I just don't like how this feels under my eyes. It feels very drying and it accentuates texture that I didn't even know was there, which is really, really unfortunate. However, this does work pretty well as an eyeshadow primer, so I will probably use it up in that manner. It does stay in place all day, and I think if you don't have an issue with dryness, or you're maybe, still working and loving your 20-year-old under eyes, this might be fine for you. It also may be better for me during the summer months when I'm not quite as dry. So we will revisit this concealer then. Coming in at number 6, little disclaimer, I do like most of these. The only one I really don't like is the CoverGirl coming in at number 7. I do like this concealer coming in at number 6. It just happened to fall in the bottom. I had to rank them all somewhere. I did rave about this concealer this summer, and I think that this is a formula that's better for me during the summer. But it's the Milani Conceal and Perfect Longwear Concealer, and I have mine in the shade Light Vanilla. This is a very nice shade match for me. This is a very thick, rich, creamy formula, which I like. However, I do have to be mindful of that when applying it, because a little does go a long way with this type of formula. It could get really thick and cakey real fast. The other reason that this falls where it does is that this is a concealer that stays tacky unless you set it. If that doesn't bother you, you don't want to set it, that works totally fine. It's fine with me anyways. I do like to set my under eye concealer, so I do let this try, to set as long as possible before applying powder. And I do generally use my ring finger with a pressed powder always to set my under eye concealer. I just find that I get the least amount of product. It really gets pressed into the skin with the warmth of my finger, and it just does a really beautiful job setting the under eye. So I do like this one. I definitely prefer to apply this with a sponge, but I do tend to kind of tap out with the warmth of my finger after I've applied it with the sponge. So hopefully that makes sense. This is a great concealer. Again, I loved it during the summer, and it's definitely long wearing, so if that's something you're interested in, I do recommend. Coming in at number 5 was a product that I really hadn't used a lot prior to this little project of mine. I've been testing these for quite some time now because I wanted to give you my full thoughts on all of my concealers in one video. And coming in at number 5 is the It Bye Bye Under Eye Full Coverage Anti-Aging Waterproof Concealer. I have mine in the shade Light Natural, and that is shade 13. This is a lifetime supply of this concealer, I kid you not. The teeny tiniest amount. I do like to warm this up between my fingers quite a bit, and then I will go in and apply this under the eye. I do like this one best applied with my fingers, at least initially. Apply it with the warmth of my hands, and then if I want to smooth or take any excess away, I'll go in with a non-dirty beauty blender. So this is definitely really long wearing. This is probably the most full coverage concealer in my collection, and I do like having one. There are times where I need full coverage under my eyes. It's just more occasionally. This does feel really hydrating on the under eye, as well as I feel like it moves with the skin under my eye, and I think that is a great thing for aging or extremely dry under eyes. It's not completely self-setting. I do like to set this one down with the powder because, again, like the Milani one, it is staying a little tacky under the eyes. And like I said, if you feel comfortable, I think this will last just as well without setting it. So if you prefer not to set your concealer, I think that it would be fine with this one. I personally just feel more comfortable with at least a light setting of powder under the eyes. So I do really like this one, and like I said, this teeny tiny, this was a sample or a 100-point perk or something at some point, and I will never run out of this. I can't even imagine unless I used it as a foundation, which I'm not about to do. Coming in at number 4 is it kind of hurts my heart to put it here, which is ridiculous because it's a concealer. But I was so excited to purchase this concealer. This is the Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer. I have mine in shade 3, which I actually think I could go down a shade to shade 2. I really like this concealer, and that's why it hurts for me to put it further down on my list. This is very, very hydrating, light to medium coverage, but buildable for sure if you work in, you know, layers. And it does like look very orange or yellow when you first apply it under the eyes until you blend it out with a sponge, which is my preference with this concealer. It feels really, really hydrating and nourishing with that avocado oil or whatever derivative of the avocado that is in this concealer. So it's very hydrating. It moves with the skin beautifully. Again, it's definitely not self-setting, but again, it sets beautifully with just a light layer of whatever powder you would normally set it with. So this is still a beautiful concealer. I don't know as if I will repurchase it because I am really keen on my top 3, which is coming up right now. Coming in at number 3 is the newest concealer to my collection. I picked this up at Target just on a whim because I do love products from this brand. The number 7 Lift and Illuminate Serum Concealer. And the word serum got me because I have another concealer that I love that also has serum in the title. I did pick mine up in the shade Light. I feel like this is a little cool tone, or maybe it's more neutral, but it is a decent shade match, and I really like this. This is very hydrating. Definitely a light to medium coverage, which is generally the case with number 7 products. They did have a radiant something concealer, which apparently I don't see at Target anymore. It's not there anymore. And that was a very light coverage hydrating concealer that I loved. So that was part of why I was keen to try this one. but it definitely feels hydrating on the under eye. It blends beautifully. I can use either my fingers or a sponge with this one, or both. And this is one I actually feel comfortable with setting or not setting, which, like I said, is a rarity. I do generally set it, but I feel like this one, especially on a light makeup or no makeup day, I could easily put this under my eyes, blend it out, and just leave it. It's somewhere between self-setting and not. So let's say it does dry down a bit. It doesn't remain tacky, but it does remain hydrating. And it's really beautiful. I actually recommend this one a lot, and that's why it's already in my top 3 concealers. For my top 2 concealers, it was really hard to put one over the other. In fact, you could honestly call these a tie. One drugstore option and one higher end option. This one I was tempted to put at number 1, but then when I thought about it, the reason I would have put this at number 1 over the actual number 1 is because it is drugstore, it is inexpensive, and so I feel really great about recommending it to you guys. However, I do like the number 1 just a smidgen more. So coming in at number 2 is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate. This is the hydrating one. I have mine in the shade C7. And this is amazing. I remember when I first tried it at Ulta, I put it on the back of my hand and it felt like my skin, which on my hands is always dry because I'm kind of a compulsive hand washer. Anywho, I put this on the back of my hand and it felt like my skin was getting a drink of water, and I thought, this is definitely a concealer for me. Again, dry under eyes that are maturing. And I love this. This feels beautiful under the eyes. It doesn't set down, but it does set beautifully with powder. Again, I don't feel like that takes away from the hydrating qualities whatsoever. It does say that it has hyaluronic acid and acai, and it is medium to full coverage. This is the concealer that I'm wearing today, and I do really like how this looks under the eyes. It's just beautiful. I love this stuff, and I do highly recommend. It's probably the least expensive out of all of the concealers in my collection, and it is definitely right up there, right underneath, like they're laying on top of each other, right under the number 1 concealer. Like I said, I wanted to recommend this as number 1 because it's so inexpensive, but ultimately I do like my number 1 better. So, dun da da da. Coming in at number 1 is my Bare Minerals Bare Skin Complete Coverage Serum Concealer. This is the other one I was talking about that had serum in the title, and that's what it feels like, if I'm being honest. This feels like the most hydrating with coverage under eye serum. I have mine in the shade Light. I picked this up earlier in the year in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale. This was half off, which made it drugstore prices. This is somewhere between medium and full coverage. I tend to wear it at a light to medium coverage level. I do think that this works well with any tool, and immediately upon applying it to the under eye, it feels nourishing, it feels hydrating. It's very lightweight yet creamy, and when it blends out under the eyes, it feels like I have nothing under there. And I actually would say that for the Makeup Revolution one as well, but this is just slightly better. I recommend this one over the Makeup Revolution one if it's within your budget, if you have points, if it's on sale, what have you. But if this is not in your budget, or you just can't stomach the price of this concealer, then you absolutely could go with the Makeup Revolution one, and I don't think you'd be missing anything. Or the number 7. That's, the other one that's serum-like. This is a very thin formula. Like I said, it feels like nothing on the under eye, and while it is not self-setting, again, it does set down beautifully with powder, or you can just leave it the way it is. That is it. I hope that this video was entertaining and or helpful to you in some way. I would love to hear down in the comments what your #1 favorite concealer is, because I'm always looking at new ones. I think the one that's on my wish list right now, but I've made myself commit to using one up before I purchase another one. But the one that's on my wish list at Sephora is the Milk Flex Concealer. I just have heard beautiful things about it, and from demonstrations it looks like one that I would love. So there you go. Thank you so much for spending part of your day here with me today talking about concealer. And with all of that said, I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely beautiful makeup days, and I will see you in my next video real soon. P.S. This eye look will be up on Monday. Bye!